The vines sprouting across the land have revealed amazing information about the inner workings of ArenaNet. They appear to have a checklist of things people complain about, and then every 2 weeks a number of these are magically addressed. The spotlight seems to have landed on the story this time, but let's deal with the map extension first. Dry Top has roughly doubled in size, but the new section is very different. Instead of a compact vertical space, it's much more open, allowing the draw distance muscles to exercise a little. There's still plenty to explore, however. The second installation of the legendary llama is particularly well hidden, and miniature jumping puzzles are in abundance. The scenery isn't all the same though. An oasis is present, which of course is very well realised. Its existence is even justified, not that it's particularly necessary, by one of the events in the area. The centaur shamans keep the land in perpetual rainfall with the longest cast time healing rain ever. The ley line discovered by Scarlet is the other non-desert section. Large floating structures are always good, but here they're even better because of the light show going on at the same time. The aspect which is surprisingly reduced in this release is the NPC dialogue. Some old friends have moved on to a relevant location, but most of the characters from the Town of Prosperity seem to have been devoured by plants, and the centaurs and Zephyrites are suspiciously silent in each other's presence. This is unfortunate, but hardly a major failing. As previously mentioned, most of the action happens in the story instances themselves, yet there are still some new events brought to the table, 3 of which are boss-like events. The first involves saving chickens from a tornado, the second fighting a giant as promised in the trailer. The giant is a generic hit it hard while half asleep fight, but still manages to warrant a bonus chest. It has some fairly lethal abilities, however, they are well telegraphed and aren't a problem to avoid. The third new opponent is the Script Queen. Quite a strange fight as she has a tendency to disable everyone's attack and weapon swaps. Luckily, the threat here is minimal, but it's interesting to see alternative ways to punish failing to dodge abilities. To compensate for the multiple extra events and therefore easier access to high tiers of Zephyrite favour, an extra one has been added, and with it, fossilised insect weapons, although these can also be obtained with the previous maximum favour level of 4, but at a higher price. Yvonne Nashblade also convinced the merchants to charge more geos due to the increased number of the things being handed out from events. This makes sense, but it really isn't totally necessary. Entangled really takes hold in the story department. It's certainly ArenaNet's most compelling work yet. Clearly, player-controlled characters didn't feel appreciated enough, and therefore take centre stage in this sequence, even demanding to be referred to as the boss. The way the story plays out is remarkable. The pace is correct, and the pieces of lore and Guild Wars 1 nostalgia will be valued by many, and are easily skipped by those not interested, so everyone should be happy. Instead of just hacking away at enemies, the story contains a few different mechanics, such as firing lasers at Inquest or controlling a steam creature. The final boss is designed in such a way that mistakes just make the fight last longer, rather than forcing a reset, which is good for newer players. The achievement attached to the fight has potential to be annoying, as it involves defending all the minions that can weaken the boss, and they have a tendency of spawning in really inconvenient places, but bringing multiple players makes it much easier. Another interesting thing about this chapter is the abundance of cutscenes. Seldom a minute goes by before the camera starts panning again, and ArenaNet even show us their pro animation skills when disposing of one of their excess characters. It's a very good thing they decided to do this, as the event would have been almost comical without some non-emote actions. They've also improved at animating faces since last time, which is a relief. Hopefully we'll see a few more cutscenes of this type. It makes the story much more impactful compared to the characters standing there inanimately. It doesn't end there though, there is one more cinematic to experience. It turns out Omad wasn't a genius at all. He simply exposed Scarlet to some mind-altering substances, and she probably just had a really bad trip. Luckily, it doesn't seem to have such a dramatic effect on adventurers. Your friends then refer to you using an appropriate pronoun, which is a nice touch, but surprisingly Timey doesn't have anything to say afterwards. A little odd, but hardly enough to detract from such an awesome scene. As a side note, if Braham's leg comes up in conversation again, I will eat Frostbite.